Well,
Toad.
hi, Jill.
Hey, I feel I got my dates mixed up. I thought you were doing your kitchen renovation this Thursday. So I guess people can tune in next week to see you working away,
There's going to be some
Bob the Builder.
surprises next week. We'll be
Oh,
um, we'll be up to our armpits in cement. We're doing cement countertops in the kitchen, and we're going to have a guest construction worker on scene here for a couple of days. So I guess we'll just leave him in limbo and see what happens next week. But we could have a guest host sitting in with us.
oh, delightful. Delightful. Anything else worth reporting before we dive into it?
Well, I've been digging in here, and we can get into this later, but I just kind of racking my brain on what's going on with this. We get updates constantly. We're all kind of in the same algorithm as far as getting these same links sent to us, which I think is interesting. I don't know if it's because of the paranormal aspect of what we're talking about, or if it has to do with Bigfoot centric stuff. But it got me going down a rabbit hole regarding some of the hidden science elements. Um, and we can talk about that here towards the end of the show. There's some links that I want to share with people in regards to the hidden sciences and just simple little things that people can check into, and we'll talk about that towards the end. But
Really
other
fast.
than
I want
that,
to thank Renee. Thank you for the $10. We will put it to good use.
thanks, Renee. So sweet. Renee Drew coming in for the win.
So before this is kind of on a sciencey note, also. So before we kind of get into the recap of Nebraska and all the cool stuff that happened, we were contacted by on Facebook by Steve Arnay. Arnay, I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation. Um, and he posed a question that I wanted to throw out to everyone to get some feedback and see what people think. He said, "Hey folks, has anyone considered if the CERN operations around the world have increased the ability to open up things and increase sightings, not only of Sasquatch, but other paranormal things?"
Yeah, I'm looking over the show notes here too, and this is something that we, like I said, we're all kind of in the same algorithm. So I get sent things about CERN all the time, about portals opening up, videos of strange lights and such. And these are things that are being suggested to us here online. But CERN is like this big thing that's always, it's the stuff of legends. As far as like it exists. It's absolutely a facility. I don't think you can take a tour of it, but certainly there's enough video evidence and enough people working there. I believe in Switzerland, right?
Hmm.
Um, and there's some weird admissions too online. Like TikTok is obviously the wild west of everything, but now X is, or Twitter. It's the full kitchen sink of expose. Kind of anything goes, and I guess that's a good thing. Um, you got to take the good with the bad. You don't know what's fake, but there's some weird admissions from like the director of CERN talking about entities coming out of portals. Um, quotes made by directors at CERN. Um, I don't know. Have you heard these quotes, Jill? And what do you think about the idea of uh, amped up activity globally, I guess, at the basis of igniting CERN?
Um, Sorry, I was thinking about Stranger Things and when they're
Yes.
coming out with the next season. I was talking to Ryan Skinner about this earlier. I wanted his opinion. And Ryan said, "We're noticing a potential correlation between aeromagnetic anomalies and paranormal hotspots where cryptids are frequently witnessed, as viewed by USG survey maps."
Now, I've never heard the term aeromagnetic. Did you get a beat on what aeromagnetic is? I'm gonna have to look that up.
Look it up because I sure did not. And you know what? I even I shot Dr. Simeon Hine an email asking him what
Oh,
he thought to get his opinion. And
okay.
I know he's buried with like important stuff, so um, I'll probably hear back from him in a week or two. But I will
Well,
relay
just
that information.
cursory looking online here, Jill, aeromagnetic anomalies seem to be um, magnetic anomalies above ground. I mean,
Oh,
that's I think that looks like the baseline of its, AERO magnetic survey. And you can look up USGS magnetic surveys online. I suppose you could probably find an aeromagnetic online source too and kind of track where these magnetic anomalies are. Now, do they fluctuate? Is this a live action type map? Probably not. Probably like the USG one, it's a static map. But um, it may get you started, right? Like, I don't know. CERN's not the only thing going on. It's not the only party in town. It's the one that we know about. But gosh,
right.
what's going on in Washington State and Oregon and Nevada? These things must exist all over in some degree. I don't know why they don't exist in one country.
Well, would this also have to, I'm one of those people, I have just enough information on so many things to pose,
Be
I can ask
dangerous.
questions, but a lot of times, I'm just like, meh, I don't know. And I'm okay admitting when I don't know things.
Yeah,
Uh, well, would this have anything to do with like ley lines and like power spots and any, would that translate to what would be triggering these,
I don't know. I mean, we're getting into some interesting territory as far as I'm concerned, and what I've noticed is that is what Dr. Travis Taylor has brought up, and what Ryan Skinner is also bringing up, is that there seems to be, and this is what our guest on Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot, Ira Wolfness, she talks about in private about these geomanced areas that are already geologically shaped to invite paranormal or supernatural or spiritual activity. And so Travis Taylor, in particular, on Skinwalker Ranch, talks about the parabolic dish shaped valley of the Uinta Basin, and I believe he says that's due to a meteorite blast that
hmm,
happened there. And what's happening at Skinwalker Ranch? Well, there's a lot of meteorites laying all over the place. I think there's a meteorite at the and Ryan, stop me if I'm wrong, but I think they think that there's a meteorite at the bottom of the Blind Frog Pool, and that's what's giving it
oh,
possibly these healing powers. So,
hmm.
what do we know? We don't know a whole lot as far as anything specific or concrete, but we can kind of theorize it that these parabolic dish-shaped areas kind of act as these telluric fields where they invite a current, and these currents invite energy, and they excite electrons, protons, and neutrons, and all that excitement seems to amp up activity. And then you add in the element of this piezoelectricity. Have you looked into this stuff? Okay. Well, somebody's going to fill in the blanks here, but um, piezoelectricity is the use of basically rubbing quartz crystals together in order to make cold light. And
Oh, okay, I
so,
am familiar with that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So just imagine underneath your feet, like, a bunch of quartz veins shifting periodically underneath a fault
Oh,
line, creating its own type of friction or earth light. And maybe this explains a little bit about some of the things that happen as far as orbs are concerned, because it's very difficult to describe these orbs as being anything conventional. And if you watch piezoelectricity happen, you get kind of a sense of something organic in nature that belongs there, but it's not hot, right? It's a cold light. Like it shouldn't, it's like bioluminescence, I guess, to a certain degree. But um, I don't know. There's
It's
a
like
lot of
when you
head
it's like when
scratching
you
there.
bite into a cert's
Yes,
breast.
yes, yes. You create earth lights in your mouth. I love it. I actually am a tic tac kind of guy, but I may switch just to have certs.
You know,
Earth lights
on
come out of my mouth.
I just got like a flashback of just like how 70s and like 80s their branding is.
Mm,
Yeah.
oh
So,
yeah.
anywho,
It
but
wasn't just I thought it was wintergreen mint too, like it was a wintergreen lifesaver that did it as well. As you had to like
oh,
snap into it and to get that light. Is that piezoelectricity? If I don't know. If it is, are you eating quartz?
not right now, but
Mm. So you know what
that's
I'm
a,
gonna do here, Jill, is I'm gonna actually go in and I'm gonna try to put a link in um, for people regarding piezoelectricity, and they can take a look at it themselves. Or if you just go into YouTube and check out piezoelectric quartz crystals, type that into the old search engine. So what else is going on, Jill?
I just want to say really quick because I was talking to Ryan Skinner. This is kind of a well, it falls under the high strangeness umbrella, but he recently came out with a new book. And if you don't know who Ryan Skinner is, get with the program. No, he's been really involved in research and investigation at
Mm,
Skinwalker Ranch, and he was on the last season of Blind Frog Ranch. But he was out there poking around before Brandon came along and whatnot. And he's written several books worth checking out. So
mm.
that's my my good Samaritan plug
Well, can you
for
put
this.
that cover back up? Because that is an epic cover, and I love that's got to be Ryan standing there underneath the bathing of the UFO light.
Probably
Love it. Ryan,
as
congrats.
a self portrait of sorts. Um,
I like the minimalist color quality to it as well.
yeah, so I just to circle back, I think we've kind of put it out to people about the whole thing with CERN. So maybe if anyone puts feelers out and gets information, I would love to hear it. I need to relay it back to Steve via Facebook. So
Yeah, we did go off on a little bit of a tangent here, Steve. If you're watching, there's just nothing concrete we can put our thoughts and minds to it only. If we can actually get, like I love whistleblowers, right? Like if someone can get close to CERN with a hidden pin camera, like a little you know intern that works at CERN, and go out on a hot date with them and maybe record some confessionals about what they're seeing and CERN, and post that somewhere on Twitter or whatever, that would help out Steve's quest, my quest. I would like to know what's going on.
look, Tab, I don't know if you're following the news, but it's not a good time to be a whistleblower right now, especially at Boeing. So
Oh, right. Yeah, I just saw that.
they just
Yeah.
these things
Well,
happen.
yeah, you just have to make it to the microphone and the cameras before they get you. That's the thing, is you have to go public. You got to pull a Bob Lazar. You got to go live. You got to go totally transparent, disinfect the hell out of it.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's move on and talk about this past week. The last time we did a live stream, it was a little choppy because we were on the brink of having some really devastating tornadoes tear up Nebraska. We were at the Nebraska Bigfoot conference in Grand Island, Nebraska. And where do I even begin? Um, and I mean that in the best way possible because it was such an amazing experience. some of the best people I've ever met at that conference. And we didn't like there were people that we knew from social media and had interacted with, but not that face to face. You just never know what you're walking into. Between the other speakers, between the hosts, the facilitators, the audience, I felt like I knew everyone. Like everyone felt like old friends. It was such a great group of people. Um, the whole time I kept telling Brad, I was like, "Oh, I wish Tobe and Mike could be here. So next year we'll have to get you guys out there." But yeah, it was really fantastic, and finally got to meet Brian Corey, who was the MC. You and Brett have done his podcast a couple times,
Okay.
so
Okay.
that was fun. What else did we do? Other than I've never been at a conference or an event where they had to stop halfway and make an announcement about tornadoes, and it was crazy because oh, this was the other thing. I felt like so packing wise, I brought a limited amount of merchandise, and it went fast. But I just kicked myself because okay, Tobe, do you remember? Like you've been there when people have come up and they've been like, "I need a 2XL. Why are you out of 2XLs? Why do you have all these mediums and smalls?" I'm like, "Oh God, sorry." And so then for the next event, I order all these 2XLs. And then
Right.
everyone's like, "I need an extra small. Why do you have all these giant I'm like, I cannot win. So everything went really fast. But from my vantage point in the event center, there were like these skylights. And it was just watching the storms roll through. It was insane. Like this, we were only about 100 miles away from where the tornadoes were touching down, and everyone's
Yeah.
just kind of like, "Oh, tornado season. What do you
Yeah.
do?" And I'm just like, "Run,
Could you hear
ah!
them
Run
kinda
in
could you
circles."
hear them, like, making the train sound, the infamous, like, they make it like a train sound, right, before they hit?
I've never been hit by a tornado. I don't
No,
know.
no, I mean, before they land or get close, they make a
Um, I was inside the whole
okay.
time. I only stepped out a couple times, but no, it was and just to kind of recap of all the speakers, there was a speaker there that I kind of follow on Facebook. Great presentation. It was Robert Kreider.
Mm,
Um, and who I just saw was announced that he's going to be at Phenomicon. But it was a great presentation, and it was a nice it accompanied the other presentations really well and really added on to other of the more I guess these kind of like these academic presentations
right.
where as a coming from an academic viewpoint as opposed to someone who's out there firsthand,
Mhm.
researching and getting in there and stuff. So that was really interesting. Oh, the guy who played Keith. He played the in the Legend of Boggy Creek. He was the monster, the folk or the
Yes.
folk monster.
Falk?
Falk.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
Jeez.
mispronouncing everything today. But he was there, so that was fun. And we went to also. So I'm looking at my notes here. So Nebraska Bigfoot Conference is put on by Harriet McFeely, who is known as the Bigfoot Lady. And she has a museum that she's put together called Bigfoot Crossroads of America Museum and Research Center. And you talk about a labor of love. She is just a little dynamo. I absolutely love her. And we got a tour from her, and she just I thought, Brett likes to talk. And I'm always kind of like, okay, I gotta chaperone him,
Right.
so he doesn't he'll just keep talking. Well, I think he met his match with Harriet. So the two of them together they are just amazing. So I'm getting all these weird alerts on my phone. Um, so that was great. So we went to the museum and we did some filming with Harriet, and her video has been available for members. It goes public tomorrow morning. And there's a little bit of everything from everyone. And actually, you know what, Tobe? We were telling her about, well, the subject of braiding came up. She has a very extensive collection of the braided horsehair. And whether it be from the mane or from the tail,
Mm,
she has samples that have been given to her from ranches nearby all the way to Russia.
right.
And it was just really fascinating because they're not wind knots. Like these are like real braided with weird intricate loops and stuff in them. This is not the wind or something rubbing it around. Um, and I know Joe Beelart talked about it in his interview too. So
Yeah.
yeah, yes. So
And so for Nancy Fry, who's on here right now, who, Nancy, you're kind of on the fence, no pun intended, with this being a legit phenomena. Nancy has some horses in her pasture, which one of them had a what looked to be a semi-braided mane in it, and she lives in an interesting area here in Washington. But I'm just saying, keep an open mind here. Continue, Jill, and talk more about these amazing features.
well, I will go on, and I'm going to be careful not to do any spoilers because there's some really. She had a great story that she shared, and it ties into some other braiding that has taken
Oh,
place.
okay.
You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to watch the video tomorrow, and you got to stick with it because it she takes her time setting up
Mm,
the story, but it's a great payoff and it's worth it. And there's even a little Oregon connection to the second part of the story with the braids. But just just to circle back to the conference, just an amazing time, just a real sense of gosh, collaboration. Like, yeah, I'll tell you what was so great. So we ended up doing a presentation, and I agreed to it. I don't know, like 4 weeks, about a month ago, and I told Robin Haynes, "Oh yeah, yeah, we'd love to," and then I forgot about it, and it was like the day before we left. I was like, "Oh, we're doing that thing." So, in true Brett and Jill fashion, like right before we went up, I'm kind of looking at our little slideshow, and he's like, "Ah, let me look at the notes." And we went up there and just kind of just I felt like I don't know it was just us just blah blah blah. Um, but we went after Jim Myers from Sasquatch Outpost,
mm,
and throughout his whole presentation, Brett and I kept looking at each other because he was saying things and discussing speaking points that were our key
hmm
speaking points. So it's like, okay, how do we make it
right.
fancy or how do we make it exciting? Because he just did a better job
Mm,
talking about than we could. So the first thing out of Brett's mouth when we got on stage was he's like, well, something to the effect of Jim said everything we planned, so we're just gonna roll with it or something, which we did. But I'll tell you what, uh, almost everyone had some sort of commentary or open mindedness to the paranormal or
mm,
to the quantum. Um, and even when a speaker says, I usually don't talk about these things, but I feel comfortable to mention it here because everyone had been talking about it, and then goes on to talk about mind speak that they received during a Sasquatch encounter. I mean, I think isn't that what we're trying to do is like kind of normalize the conversation and make people comfortable? talking about
Now's
it?
the time to do it. Like if you've ever wondered if it was time to do it, now's the time to do it. If you have a story to tell, just tell your wife, tell someone. It doesn't have to be us. Just get it out there. It happened. Relate to somebody else who's had it happen and have that dialogue back and forth. Maybe it's happening here in the chat. I don't know. Um, but it's important to get off your chest. And I think now's the time. There's no going back, is there, Jill?
Oh, not now. Oh
Oh,
no,
no.
we're not going back. Trying to think what other exciting things. Oh. So not Jim. Ron and Alan were there. So I take that back. There were people that we knew before. So Ron and Alan, who made the Bigfoot Alien Connection, How We Found You, and Daryl,
Hmm.
they were there. They screened their film, the Bigfoot of Bailey, Colorado, and the Portal, and it was. I really enjoyed it. It was great. And here's the part that you will appreciate. So they ended their movie. There was a spiritual tree, a tree that everyone was like having these healings at. Are you familiar with this story? Am I
I
boring
think,
you?
is this the tree by the main road?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yes. Go ahead
yeah.
then.
So I was just fascinated about it. I was just like, oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. And Ron's like, well, you should go see it. And we're like, well, okay. So we figured it out and stuff. And of course, Ron's like, and you need to film Brett at the tree, and Brett needs to film you at the tree. Well, we completely got caught up in the moment and did not do that. But so Monday morning, before we flew out later that afternoon, we went to Bailey, Colorado. We went to Sasquatch Outpost, which was amazing. Jim gave us a tour, um, showed us around. We bought more Bigfoot stuff than we need, but there's no turning back. And just a delightful little town. I was like, I could live in Colorado. I could do this. So we'll see how that pans out. Um, but Jim took us up to where the tree is located, and I'm not gonna lie, there's definitely something going on. Um, Brett was picking up on stuff. I was feeling it. It
Mm,
like it was like completely like energizing. A lift in frequency, just an awareness. It just like when we left, we felt different. We definitely,
mm.
we were talking through it and stuff. But yeah, so we're eager to get back to Bailey, Colorado. Take Jim up on one of his offers for he does those like backcountry adventuring type things.
Hmm.
So
Now, is the tree near the outpost?
it's just like maybe 2 or 3 miles away.
Okay,
It
gotcha.
was just down the road. It's like just right there.
And how did
So
they find this tree? How did they know that this tree had special, unique properties?
if I recall from the film, so the tree is on property that was it. I'm gonna butcher this story.
That's
Um,
okay.
it's I'll just make stuff up. No, it
Yeah,
was
please do.
it was the Native Americans. It was there was some special significance, whether they were living specifically on that property or they were using that property for like spiritual, like for
Okay.
prayer. But there were specific trees. I don't need that. Specific trees on the property that they had connections with, and I guess a lot of people were drawn to this tree and were reporting these healings and experiences. And there were let me think here. we took a look at two specific trees. Um, but yeah, it's like that main tree by the road that everyone just kind of gets pulled
Yeah.
to. And when I laid hands on it,
Oh, hallelujah.
um, no, but like feeling it, it's like I felt like I don't know, everything like went white, but I was feeling like I was being pushed back, like being pushed off the tree.
Hmm.
And I kept feeling like I had to step back to a specific spot and watch Brett's reaction and watching Jim. And I was like, okay, there maybe I'm just overreacting. So I go back and do it
Hmm.
again. And I'm feeling that's kind of like when you put magnets, you
Yeah.
reverse magnets and stick them together. That's how I felt. Maybe the tree was rejecting me.
Right.
Huh, again. Um, but all in all, yeah, Reader's Digest version of the story,
Mm.
amazing trip. Colorado's great. Um, and I hope to be back soon.
Well, the idea of things, entities, beings living inside trees, communicating with people is something that dates back to the time of the Druids. I saw a comment on here saying as much. And certainly, if you go up towards Marble Mount, there's a case up there of a tree that is communicating with a witness by the name of Lori Simmons. I know that Adam Davies has had some stuff happen out there as well. I've heard this tree make some astonishing sounds that for my taste are unexplainable. The tree supposedly growls. In fact, the tree is said to have had growled so much that it. I don't think I'm stepping on any toes here when I say this because he's passed, but I think that the tree growled so hard, and I know that sounds like a crazy sentence, that it scared Dr. Ryan Sykes to the point where I think that they wanted to leave. If the story, the way I heard it, is correct, I think Dr. Sykes has passed. Um, so this is like real stuff. Like, even in Bohemian Grove, they supposedly talk to trees in there and that there's deities living inside these trees. In the footage that you're talking about with um, the two filmmakers here, sorry, they're skipping. What are their names again?
Ron and Alan, come on.
Sorry, Ron and Alan. I've got a lot in my head. When Ron and Alan film this footage, they have a SLS camera, and they get something on camera, which is inexplainable. So, I mean, make your way out to Colorado. First of all, go to Marble Mountain. I'll tell you where the tree is there. Then go to Joe Hauser's through Montana. Go to the Vortex, and then go out to Colorado. Kind of a straight shot eventually, I guess. And yeah, I mean, you can have like these real adventures that will change you forever. You can't do it all online, Jill. You have to get your butt in the driver's seat and go to these places. I know it's going to cost you money to pull it off, but I mean, spend your money on experiences instead of crap. Quit buying all this junk that you don't need. Go have experiences. Follow up on what Jill was saying. Follow up what Alan has filmed, this incredible footage. And I think this film is on YouTube for free. I think that's where I watched it. So I think you can just go watch this film.
It's either on YouTube or Amazon. The
Yeah.
Bigfoot of Bailey, Colorado, and the
Yes.
portal. So
Yes. Absolutely. Well, just getting back to, I put a couple links up here online. And to your point, because you did bring up magnetism, you're talking about the reverse polarity of magnets. There's another link that I put up here. If you scroll up to your chat, you'll see it, and under my icon, the Al Moon Lab. And it's another hidden science thing. So we'll just kind of squeeze these in periodically because it fits in. I watched a link regarding a scientist that was doing a field experiment with a plastic pen rubbing up against his head to cause a static charge on a piece of plastic. And then he did a simple magnetic reading, an EMF reading, to show that the neutrons and electrons were showing up on the pin. It had charged it, just like a balloon, right? Like if you rub it, you can stick it to a wall. You can also take a balloon and you can actually use the static charge to pull a stream of water away from the kitchen sink, which
Hmm.
is something I didn't know you could do. But anyway, if you go to this link here, you're going to see what this guy does. He actually puts a static charge on a pin, and he has his students in the audience, and he sends a field of energy out to them by shaking the pin into the audience, to the point where
Oh.
they're over 10 feet away from them and they can feel this static charge coming off of this pin as a wave. And then he measures it. It's really incredible. And so, I mean, this is just simple little, parlor tricks. But Joe Hauser has that thing that I always bring to the conference, right? That little toy of wonder, which I thought
Yeah.
Joe, I thought Joe Hauser had made that. I actually asked him. That was a miscommunication on my part. I think you can buy those on Amazon. I think it's called like the Wonder Bar, and all it shows is that we all conduct electricity to one degree, and we have to be connected to make a unified field of electricity. So it'll make this little sound and it'll glow. But I think the more that we try to reach out to skeptical minds, not debunkers, but people that just have questions, and show them, just like, hey, this is stuff that exists. Like lights can come out of crystals, and this is true too with the static charge. So I don't know. I've been trying to focus when I'm online more and stay away from the negativity, and immerse myself into positive hidden scientific studies.
Well, good on you. You get a
Thanks,
merit
Mom.
badge for that.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Um, I can't talk. It's been a crazy day. I just want to say, like, it's been just nonstop, go, go, go. So the caffeine is still
Mm.
coursing through my veins. Before I want to kind of skip around a little bit, there are a couple more things we were going to talk about on the list, but I was exchanging some emails with one of our viewers who submitted a story about a Bigfoot encounter she had that I wanted to read because there's some really interesting components to it. Um, and it's a little bit slightly edited because it was a series of emails that kind of went back and forth. So hopefully, like, this made sense at the time when I was cutting and pasting from email to document. This is from Phyllis. Here we go. Since childhood, I've been an experiencer of paranormal phenomena, which is God, I cannot read. Hold on. I
You
have
got
to.
this.
I have to. I can read. By the way, I just have to increase
Public education.
my
It
my
happens.
secret. Um, I'm at a certain age where the font has to be like
The Hard
16.
Knocks of Astoria, Oregon. I know.
Woo. Okay. Since childhood, I've been an experiencer of paranormal phenomena, which has shaped my perspective on life. One significant encounter occurred in the 1980s at a Girl Scout camp in California, where I witnessed inexplicable red eyes in the trees, followed by missing time. The Girl Scout camp encounter with the red eyes in the tree was scary looking back, but honestly, just like with some of my many other paranormal encounters, I remember being numb, as if I could see the eyes but had no control of myself or the situation. Like I said before, I have no memory of what happened next, only being back in the cabin that evening. And here's a detail that came to me when I was telling my youngest son, Xander, the story last night. I don't remember getting back to the cabin with my scout friends. I do remember being there with everyone else in the evening. And then She goes on, she talks about how, like, for this scouting trip, like, both her parents were there, but they weren't in, they're kind of overseeing it, is what it sounds
Mhm.
like, but they weren't in the cabin, like Girl Scouts in a cabin alone camping with adults nearby. So no adult supervision within the cabin. The evening we returned from the woods, that night we trashed the cabin. We toilet papered it and rearranged the furniture. It looked like a wreck in the morning. I remember that. I also remember that we were all kicked out of the Girl Scout camp. We were literally asked to leave, or my mother was asked to take her troop home. She was berated by the camp leader. It was a mess. Why would we vandalize our own cabin? To this day, that seems so out of left field. And then she wrote in parentheses, I wonder if the Girl Scouts would have a record of us being asked to leave. Um, so then she says, last night I told that part of the story for the first time in decades. I remember my parents were so livid at the time, beyond embarrassed and ashamed. I also remember thinking, why did I do that? But for me, it adds an element of either trauma, acting out because of, or mind control to this whole thing. I remember toilet papering the cabin to this day. The truth is, I honestly don't know why I would do that. My son, after hearing the story, said to me, Mom, you've told me about the red eyes, but you never said anything about vandalizing the cabin and getting kicked out of the camp before. It came to me. It was always there, but it just rolled out finally. I was actually able to tell this without feeling shame. I've had other missing time experiences and firmly believe our visitor friends, I think she's talking about UFOs, and Bigfoot can put pictures in places of themselves, red eyes, owls, maybe sometimes a Bigfoot archetype. I also believe that they can take us out of space time and put us back without anyone knowing the better, even us. And then she talked about a theory that, and we've heard other people talk about this, the idea that the Bigfoots are projecting messages or images kind of as a distraction. I know when Ira's talked about her Bigfoot encounter down in Mount Shasta area, it was like she saw it, but all she could think in her head was, I'm thirsty, I'm tired, I need to go home. I'm thirsty, I'm tired, I need to go home. And it wasn't until a
Mm.
couple days later she was like, wait a minute. During all that, I saw a Bigfoot. So it sounds like there's a connection there, but she's also mentioning that as a way of doing camouflage, um, and she's also talking about that she's had multiple UFO sightings that kind of had, there's almost like that same kind of missing time component
Mhm.
and not really recalling the events, just like seeing these lights and memory gaps. So then she goes on. So connecting my childhood UFO sighting with the red eye encounter at camp is definitely intriguing for me. Similar memory loss after initial encounter, sleepy feeling that you cannot control. How many people have we heard of who've had encounters and then the Bigfoot, like they get this mind speak, go to sleep, or they just go back to sleep?
Oh, yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
the weighted blanket effect is
yeah.
something that's brought up time and time again.
Yeah, these symptoms are the same in both types of encounter. It just makes me ponder about the interconnectedness of these experiences and what they might reveal about the nature of reality. Exploring the concept of missing space time and its prevalence in paranormal encounters could shed light on deeper layers of the phenomena. Are dimensions intersecting with each other or waves just flowing and they connect at times? I don't know, but I've considered and researched a lot of theories. And it's like I really wonder, because when we're younger and we're kids and things like this happen and we're told by adults, no it didn't, you're fine,
Mm.
you have an overactive imagination. Like how many, I mean, you talk about, well, Simeon Hine talks about the hidden events. How many kids have witnessed just incredible, like out of this world, like occurrences, only to have convinced themselves it never happened?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it sounds like a perfect person to go, see Doug Meacham, to get inside there and kind of loosen up these tight bolts. That's the way I kind of picture it. Just like everything is kind of rusted shut, and Doug gets
Mhm.
in there with a little WD-40 and just gives you an opportunity to shift those gears a back, and unlock some of these memories here. It's incredible stuff.
Yeah. On a side note to that, um, Brett shared this article on Facebook, but the Washington Post released an article about reincarnation.
I saw him
And
say something about that. Yeah.
yeah, and like all these kids are, parents are just like, my kid keeps talking about their past lives. How do
Hmm.
I, wrap my head around this? It feels like we're kind of at a tipping point. Either more people are talking about this and people you can't ignore it anymore. And I saw a comment in there like, "Oh, remember when these talks were like conspiracy theory and stuff." Well, remember when we couldn't talk about this stuff that this freely? Like, I know social media isn't the greatest thing in the world, but my
Mm.
god, think of the community it's brought together where we can share information, share this stuff. There's a
Mm.
lot downside to it too, sure. But yeah, it just feels like something's about to happen.
It's either reincarnation or it's some kind of soul entanglement, but it's not fake because they're way too specific. I mean that Netflix show. I think we brought this up before, but there's a Netflix show about near-death experiences, um, and they interview this child that was like a World War II fighter pilot, and he basically goes and finds like one of the family members and describes this guy as a child that he used to be, and you could tell that the kid didn't really want to go do it, and that the memories were kind of slowly fading. As they get older, they seem to fade away, right?
Hmm.
um I mean, we all have like memories of strange things that happened to us as children. I don't know if some of these memories are real or not, like when I'm 5 or 6 and I think I see a witch in the closet. Like, to me, that's a real memory in Pleasant Hill, Oregon. I'll never forget what she looks like. But a witch in the closet, I mean, it was a nightmare as far as I'm concerned. But then you read someone like Whitley Strieber and they talk about, these screen memories that exist, where these moments and time can have these basically layers over them. Jacques Vallée says that basically all of these experiences are so absurd that they're just tests to see if you can go beyond what is presented to you. It's what's beyond these screen memories is the real initiation that happens. And I think absurd is probably the best word to kind of describe what we're talking about here, is that again and again, these are things that you can't explain to your neighbor. You have to come onto a platform like this at 7 o'clock at night and hear us wax on about it, which is good. We all love each other, right? um but it is absurd. It's totally absurd. And so I don't know what to think. Sometimes, I mean, I'm still in awe, Jill, about these things being real. As much as we talk about it, as crazy as the stuff has happened to all of us, I'm still like a kid in a candy store thinking, like, I looked at that Sasquatch outpost Bigfoot that the guy got. What's his first name? Jim, is it?
Hmm.
That runs the new
Oh
Sasquatch
yeah.
exhibit. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's the most beautiful Sasquatch statue. I wish I could design something that good. And it just brought me right back to, like, I want to be in the woods. I want to see that tonight. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about it, and it's been like almost 20 years in. And so, that's what's so cool about this, is you still, at least I do, I still feel that way.
What? Just to go back really quick, when you're talking about it, maybe it's a test to look past these screened memories to
Mhm,
get to the real initiation.
mhm,
Can you break that down, like hypothetically, like use the witch in the closet
mhm.
uh example? Like, what does that mean? Like, how do you have you missed the window? Have you
I don't think so.
has
I mean, if what Doug is doing is real, which I believe it is, if he can
Mhm.
take you back and you can unlock these rusted, levers and gears and loosen them up to get to these memories here, perhaps you can unlock that moment too and get me. I mean, there's a really specific part in Communion, the movie with Christopher Walken, where the gray pulls its face off. And you see that it's just like this bioengineered thing, and the real thing is underneath the gray face, right? And that's what people have been saying about, let's go back to Jack. He sees a deer, a white deer turn into a Bigfoot. But how many times, have we heard this time and time again about the owls and all the shape-shifting possibilities? But I don't know. I don't know how to think of about it except some kind of initiation and esoteric kind of test to kind of lure you in deeper, because it's all about being lured in. This is all about being lured in deeper and deeper into their world that is obfuscated by a million different ideas about what is true, and that bothers me. Like, I'm bothered by the lack of transparency of this mystery. But we have a lot of those. I mean, that's what a lot of religion is, although they would call that faith, right? Like, do we want to have faith in Bigfoot? Do we want to have faith in this phenomena? Um, you can get, I guess, you can go deeper down that rabbit hole and come to some conclusions. But if you just love the mystery, like you and I and everybody here, I think we absolutely enjoy the open-ended question of this. And some of us probably feel like we have specific answers. Well, I'm happy for you. And in a way, I guess I wouldn't be happy if that was the case for me, because I want the mystery to live on.
Hmm.
And so for me, that's something that is an attractive part of this whole phenomena, is that it, in my opinion, will never be finished for me.
Do you find that the more you learn or the more you deep dive on certain aspects, it kind of undoes what you know, or like theories and ideas that you had, you have to toss, or you
Mm,
it's always it feels like it's always evolving. And coming into this, it was simple because all I thought, I was like, Bigfoot, big creature in the woods, that people can't find. Didn't think much of it, just that, yeah, they're out there.
hmm,
But now it's like, between, yeah, you hear someone like Jack talk about
hmm,
his sighting. You hear, I mean, even what you and Daryl went through. You listen to what Ashley went
hmm.
through, or on these ongoing experiencers, and it just kind of it yeah, throw everything out the window and just take it as it comes. And I feel like I keep having to pivot and just say, oh, okay, I did not take that into consideration. So now, I was confused before, but now I really don't know what's going on. But I
Right.
just
And
have,
when you see, I mean, when you see hardened scientists at places like Skinwalker Ranch, and you see the look on their face, like, this is just effing with us. There's no answers here. This is
yeah.
totally ridiculous what's happening. But I did. I think we're kind of bearing the lead here because she fits in nicely. We haven't spoken about April Lynn yet, have we?
Oh, no,
Okay, let's.
no.
Well, because this is the perfect transitional point, because
Okay.
this is absurd. This is probably one of the most absurd stories, in my opinion, aside from, the ending of A Flash of Beauty with Cody. This is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you want to recap for everyone about April's story if they haven't seen
Okay.
it?
Well, so April was introduced to you and Brett through someone who was already in the film, that said, basically, I have a significant other here. She's had this incredible sighting on the coast, where she and another witness with her had a 2-minute long sighting of what they assumed in broad daylight from, I believe that they said it was, I don't know how, a football field away. So not like a mile away, like a football field. You can see
Mhm.
a linebacker running for a touchdown. So you can see this thing. And they said they thought they saw a wiry light brown dog and kind of halfway in the water on all fours. And that's what they assumed it was. And then they had a sighting of this thing stand up and then kind of acknowledge them, or she said it sensed that they were there, which I thought was interesting. She used the word it sensed that they were there. She didn't say it looked at her. And then it went into the surf on two legs, and matter of factly, not in a rush. And then it just kind of pulled a little front stroke into
A
the
squat
water and went
stroke.
under the wave and disappeared. Yeah, right. But full on, yeah, B-52s. Okay. But no, absolutely. So, I mean, just the picture, like, you guys are so good, Brett and Mike. You guys are so talented at giving the audience their imagination on film, you know. And although we don't see that, there is a moment where she says it was like I was looking at this thing and I was in a different reality. And you do this magnificent, I don't know where you got this imagery of a portal opening up over the surf, but that's what my mind always kind of pictures when someone describes a portal, is that image. Um, it's incredible. It's like an 18, 17, 16-minute video, but it's so beautifully shot, and she's such a good storyteller, and what she saw is incredible.
Yeah, it's like, where do you file that away? But we have heard a lot of accounts of Sasquatch in the water swimming. I mean, Henry Franzoni talks about them in the Columbia River,
Yeah.
and we're actually like pretty early. Well, after the first documentary came out, Brett and I were on a commercial shoot. On the east side of Portland, and someone there, one of the employees at the business, when I told them that we were doing these documentaries, he was like, "I have friends who are sturgeon fishermen on the Columbia, and when you get up past like where the road is on the Washington side, he's very specific on the Washington side. Once you kind of get away from everything, he is talking about fishermen he knew who had sightings like up in that
Hmm.
area. Um, which that now this would be before you get into like bingen, like where
Mm.
Margie is and all that weirdness. But
Hmm.
there's definitely some strange stuff out there.
Now there is another. Well, just to circle back, to steal your expression, um, that out here in the Olympic Peninsula, there's lots of little islands. Whidbey Island, just right across the water from us here, and there's been sightings of Sasquatches swimming across the Puget Sound, alongside ferries, um, at night, people canoeing, things like that. Swimming across from what would be, I guess, Muckateal or Edmonds or Port Townsend, um, over to Whidbey Island. Which, if you're on Whidbey Island, you just can't imagine that there's. I can't really imagine there being Bigfoot there. It's not like forest everywhere. There's a lot of like fields and stuff, but it's not just there. It's all over the place. I think there's another guy, and I'm losing his name here. I'm not good with names tonight. I'm usually better with names. But Paul Graves wrote a song about this guy. Paul Graves, a Bigfooter up in Washington State. Anyway, this guy went on to say that him and his wife saw Sasquatch swimming across the lake, and his wife thought it was a guy in Carhartts swimming, in the water, and her husband's just like, no, it's not a guy in Carhartt swimming across the lake. Are you crazy? Like, you'll die. And so he's got the binoculars and he's looking at it and he gives them to her. And what they see is they see a Sasquatch chasing after elk. It's pushing the elk herd in the water to the other shore where there's like 3 or 4 Sasquatch, part of the clan waiting in the brush.
Wow.
And so this is what primates are known to do, right? Is they have a pusher monkey that is the distractor monkey that pushes the prey to the predator.
The
And
pusher monkey.
pusher monkey, that was my name in middle school. Everybody look out, here comes pusher monkey. Anyway, uh,
Oh, hmm, mm.
anyway, if someone can think of the guy's name that told that incredible story, I don't think Paul Gray's has listened to this podcast, and maybe I'll think of it beforehand. But again, if you go back in the link, go look up Pusher Monkey, and go see the comments there. You'll see the Al Moon Lab tab, and there is a link I put by a guest on Joe Rogan. His name is Tony Woods, and pretty compelling, like 10-minute story, a clip of this guy. I believe is in South Africa. Maybe no, he wasn't. He was like on the he was on an island. He saw a merman coming up out of the water. And he's really specific about what he saw, and totally convinced that he saw like a 12-foot long merman in the water. And it's just these kind of testimonies, where people aren't smirking and they're reliving it just like a Bigfoot thing. It's just we live in a crazy world, man. And if there's talking trees and mermen and sea squatches, uh, holy cow! Maybe Brett's graphic is correct. Maybe she did look through a wrinkle in time and saw this parallel world where this is like an everyday occurrence, and there's sea squatches surfing in the tide. I don't know. I know we haven't heard the best of the best stories. There's stories that you guys have that we want to hear about. You've seen the quality of work that the YouTube channel is pulling off. It just really is quality work, and we would love to talk to you. Some of you I've reached out to, and to see if you want to tell your stories again on this channel in particular, or just talk. It doesn't have to be on this channel, but just talk. And I just implore you to think about it, because your story is important. It goes into a historical database, um, where eventually this will be somewhat normalized. If enough of us tell this story, it will be. And so, just comment on the YouTube channel, or reach out to a flash of beauty at bigfootdoc.com. Or how do they reach out, Jill, in particular?
The best email is info@bigfootdoc.com.
Hmm.
It may take me a while, but I do respond to the emails. There's
Okay.
a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my rant there. Those links are all in the thing. April, incredible story. Really, it's so different. It's such a unique encounter. It's not like a roadside crossing at all. I don't know what she saw. She didn't say she saw Bigfoot. She said she saw something that was bipedal with wiry brown hair that swam and walked like a man. Did she describe size? I don't remember her saying like it was 10 feet tall.
Well, she talked about initially. She said there was some size to it because she thought it was
A
like a
bear.
wolf Irish wolfhound,
Yeah.
which are just obnoxiously large.
Yeah.
And then it stood up. So even think of
Mm.
like one of those giant wolfhounds, or like a Great Dane, like jumping up on the like putting their paws on the counter or what have you.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, it was not normal. And aside from that, then it went into the ocean. I mean,
Hmm.
the Oregon, I mean, and for those of you who are not familiar with, well, I guess it was Northern California, but it's not warm. This isn't like the Caribbean. This is not friendly water. It's
Hmm.
cold and off the rocks. That just sounds dangerous. Um,
Hmm. Well, you listen to some of the latest comments that have come out about, non-human intelligence and UAP phenomena existing under the water. They keep reiterating USOs, and I feel like, there's a little bit of James Cameron a la the movie Abyss, where some of this predictive programming is gonna, blow people's minds. I mean, we talked to somebody in particular that's going to be speaking at Phenomicon this year that had an incredible USO experience. And so that's, these are, I don't know, maybe these are future documentaries where people see strange creatures underwater, but there's something about being in the water and seeing something like that that's just so amazing to me, picturesque.
And speaking of pictures, I might post these in the community section of the YouTube channel. So when Brett and I were leaving Sasquatch Outpost, I was looking up at the hills and at the up in the trees, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do like a dress rehearsal, like a trial run, like how easy would it be to take a photo, like if we had a sighting? Because
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
bugs me so much when people are like, "Why didn't you take a photo? Why didn't you get video? Why didn't you interview the Sasquatch in question?" Um, so I was like, "Okay," like I just had my phone in my hand. It was off, like it normally would be if you're just kind of driving along, minding your own business. Then I was like, "Oh, Sasquatch, Sasquatch!" And then like I was trying to figure out, like we were going probably about 60 miles per hour, trying to turn my phone on, get the camera out, and then just shooting blindly to see what I could get.
Hmm.
Now, that being said, it was terrible. And if it had been the real thing, not a drill, I would be very upset because when something like that's happening, you are in the moment. You're trying to
Mm.
figure out what you're trying to process it. You're not like worried about, oh, what filter am I
Right.
going to use? What lens?
Right. Put some kissy faces on him.
Yeah, I want the
Don't they
heart.
have a isn't there a setting and that's probably where Brett will chime in, where when you hit record, it will actually record the 15 seconds beforehand or the 5 seconds beforehand. So you press the shutter, but it somehow it's already recording before you hit it. I don't know. I think that exists. I don't know what that feature's called.
On certain trail cams, like the trail
Mhm.
cam that we were using down at Al Moon, it had that feature. The one that we
Okay.
used at Geyser Grand that caught the ghost, the spirit,
Mm.
sorry, the spirit moving through the room, it had that
Yeah.
feature. Um, but no, and it's just a good reminder. And I would challenge anyone to do the same thing, like to see how fast your reactions are, trying to take a random photo. Like be with someone, have the other person call out, like, there it is, right over there, and just to see how fast you can get your phone open while you're
Yeah.
driving. It's Yeah, so it's just a good reminder that
Mhm.
when the amazing, the unknown, the unseen makes itself known, I'll be screwing around with my phone, trying to trying to
Yeah.
open it and document it. So enjoy the moment. You know, maybe, these things aren't supposed to be captured. They're supposed to be experienced. I just
Boy, I
pulled
don't
that
know.
out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
I mean,
So
I say all these things
I
about
want photos right now.
have yeah. I mean, I preach about audio, using audio, but no, I've been toying in my mind, just like, no, I want to see one of these things move. I want to see what they're doing at night. I want to see this myself. Um, so I've been toying with the idea of trying to find a camera that would suit the operation out here. And I don't know if that's a game camera or what, but if anybody has any suggestions, you can write those down and let me know in the comments. But probably nothing that you could find, at a Costco or anything like that, because it's all low end. But yeah, I want to see one again. It's been a while. It's been a
Well,
while.
You got to be out in the woods. So,
Mhm. Gotta
yeah.
get those boots dirty, Joe.
Well, speaking of getting dirty, I that was not the segue I wanted to use, but we are we are back at it. Next week we leave. We're headed south to do some filming on Ron Moorhead's documentary based on Voices in the Wilderness, documenting the Sierra Sounds and all the all the mysteries surrounding those. So that's going to be a action-packed week that I'll report back on. And let's see here. What other events do we have coming up?
Well, geez, we got a couple of things coming up here. I hate to refer to my calendar way up here in the sky. I know that the Sasquatch Summerfest is finalizing their speaker roster list for the Oak Ridge, Oregon event coming up. I believe in July. Am I correct on the month? Brett, chime in. Um,
It's
it's
mid
either
July.
Ju- it's either June or July, I believe.
It's July.
It's July. Yeah, and that's
July.
the best time of year to be in Oak Ridge anyway. Um, like I said, if you can show up to that one, I know some places to go that aren't necessarily Bigfoot related, but are hotspot related, geological, anomalies, let's just call them, that you can go to. But it's just a good time. It's a great place, and we hope to see you there. And we were going to be at the McMinnville um, UFO festival, but we decided to bow out of that one. Correct?
That is correct. I relinquished
Mm.
our spot. Um, but that's
But
okay.
that's okay. I know that Scott and Hannah will be there from Squatch America. They'll have a booth going on, so you can go get your Bigfoot on with those two. They'll also be up with us in the mountains up here in the Olympic Peninsula come the end of September. So that brings us to my closing thought here, which is, I believe, our fourth clue. Last week's clue is available. All these clues are available towards the last 5 minutes of the show. So if you don't know these clues, then you can go look them up on the previous three shows. But this week's clue for 2 free tickets to the Olympic Strange Days, hidden out here in the Olympic Peninsula. I will release out all the information here by June, and these clues are all leading somewhere. So this week's clue for 2 free tickets to come out in the woods with the likes of Simeon Hine, Brett, Jill, myself, Rich, Germo, Nancy Fry will be there as well. Mike, if we can have them, we might have some surprise guests as well. The full list is at olympicstrangedays.com. This week's clue is caves. Caves, Caves. So that's 4 clues out this week. Go check out the other 3 episodes in our live section to find out what the other 3 clues are. And this is all leading to you finding these clues out here in the Olympic Peninsula. Good luck.
Any oh, you know what, Tobe, we forgot about something because it is kind of it's coming together fast and kind of, well, I don't want to say furious, but it's happening. We are going international. We are having a screening in Castlegar, British Columbia, and that is coming up in June on the weekend of Friday, June 14th. It's going to be a double feature. And if I am correct, oh, wait, or is it Saturday the 15th? Yeah, it's Friday the 14th. Um, it's going to be a double feature. That's the same weekend as the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival. So I'm just saying, maybe make it a Canadian, Washington type
Can you
getaway.
cross the border of Medellin and get to that spot?
Uh, it's like 7 miles north, the border
That's it.
crossing, but it
Okay.
has weird hours. I mean, it's a small crossing,
Okay.
so just double check the
Okay.
times, or you might spend more time with us than you want to if you can't
Right.
if you can't get back.
Yeah, and
Um,
don't bring a big old bag of hydrocal across the border with you. Bad idea if you're gonna try to smuggle some hydrocal across the border.
hey, who knows? In that area, they might be okay with it.
They might be okay
Um,
with it.
yeah. So okay. So that's all I had to say for
Mhm.
now, and yeah.
That's it. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing. Last week we did talk about hydrocal. We talked about casting. We talked about my version of how to, you know, look for tracks and maybe what to bring. We didn't really show casting and whatnot. Dude, I don't think you need to bring. I mean, it's always nice to bring home a print, but the lidar tech in the phones to scan a track with lidar is
Oh.
just it's next level digital reading. So if you have one of these newer iPhones with a lidar camera on it, go find bear tracks, go to the beach, go find regular tracks and practice, and then go to a Bigfoot area. I want to see more evidence with this lidar tech. It's absolutely incredible. So things to come with looking at Bigfoot tracks with lidar.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
All right, Jill. As always, a pleasure. And I will see you and the rest of the kiddos in the trees.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right,
Yeah,
bye
that
bye.
was a week close. Sorry, folks. We'll see you next week on the road. Alrighty, signing off.